Okay, 1:30, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And I'll ask everybody, check your phones and pagers, turn them off, turn them to silent if you would, please. Looks like next item, minutes of the last meeting.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second. And a motion, second, any discussion? If not, cast your vote. Approved, thank you. Continuance requests. Kathy?
We have one today, item number 8, case number 13781 is requesting a continuance to November 7th.
I'd make a motion to approve continuance on item number 8.
Second. Motion is second, any discussion? Cast your vote. We're good. All right. Do we have any requests for continuances from the public? Okay. Let's go to the consent docket, please.
I think we need to approve our minutes, don't we?
Oh, I thought we did.
Did we just do that? Okay.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
The consent docket, item number 1, case number 13774, request of Rhonda Northcutt for a variance concerning the prohibition of structures, improvements, development, temporary or permanent within the floodway located at 15824 and 15825 South St. Clair Avenue.
Ms. Northcutt here, anybody here on her behalf? Protest? No, it's on the consent docket. We want to just go ahead and approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion seconds, any discussion? Cast your vote. Okay, she won. All right. Number 2, please.
Item number 2, case number 13812, request of Vesta Homes for a variance to allow a single-family residence encroaching the 25-foot platted front building line located at 14524 Briarcliff Drive.
Applicant here, come on up and give us your name and address, please.
My name's Jim Schuff. Address of Vesta Homes is 1245 Southeastern.
Okay. Tell us what you got.
Well, I was contacted by a friend of mine after the tornado, contracted to rebuild his house, and so we submitted the plans to the city plan review, got the permit issued, went out after surveying the lot, locating the property pins, proceeded to build the house, and got halfway done and found out that we're encroaching on the front building line.
Do you have any protests on this one? Anybody here to protest?
You aware of anybody in opposition?
No, I'm not.
I'd make a motion to approve the variance.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Cast your votes.
Thank you.
Good.
Item number 3, case number 13808, request of U.S. Star Properties for a variance to the side and rear yard setback requirement and to permit the trash dumpster to be placed forward at the front wall of the building located at 7944 West Hefner Road.
Good afternoon, Don Navarre, 4800 North Lincoln Boulevard, Oklahoma City, representing Mr. Sandhu and U.S. Star Properties, LLC. Mr. Sandhu is here also. This has been a abandoned gas station that the Sandhus, our U.S. Star Properties, are going to rehab and get back on the market. Want to build a little convenience store, and the request is to allow basically an additional 672 square feet of sales space to the building by allowing a change to the setback requirements. The other request is that when the architect, as you can see by the drawing, designed the space, the trash dumpster area is along that south boundary line, and therefore, right there, right, it is close to residential, and he would certainly build up the protection and site so you wouldn't have any problems from the neighborhood next door, but that's an apartment complex on that south side. So those are the 2 requests, gentlemen.
Do we have any protests? Does anybody have questions or comments?
And you're not in no way objecting to out of sight, putting up something, a barrier where it won't be seen by any of the adjoining landowners?
No, sir.
If there are no problems with the setback and you know, the proper access to the building, the dumpster in this kind of setting, I mean, it's less than desirable, but, you know, the size of the lot prohibits, it looks to me like placing it anywhere else. And they're going to screen it appropriately.
And there's nowhere else to go.
Yes, sir. Right.
And it's, you know, putting a viable business back on a corner that hasn't had one for a period of time, so
Been abandoned for about 2 years.
I'm comfortable. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Cast your vote, please. Okay.
Thank you.
You're good.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Item number 4, case number 13809, request of Block Supply for a variance to allow outdoor storage located at 7610 South Kentucky Avenue.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Before we hear this case, I need to disclose that Lock Supply is a customer of mine.
Okay.
And the board is only consists of 3 members, and if I recuse myself, then in essence your case can't be heard today. So I feel like I can hear your case and judge it fairly, but it's up to you about whether you want to be heard today.
I don't have a problem with that, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Don C. with Lock Supply, 1300 Southeast 82nd. We already have a fenced-in area in there, a cyclone fence. We park our trucks in there due to security reasons. We've also put in the last year, our plastic pipe. Our plastic pipe runs about 20 feet long. We have 20 to 30,000 feet of that outside. There's no way in the world we could bring it in and take it out every evening. It just wouldn't be feasible. We don't have enough area in the room. This fence has been up, to my knowledge, about 8 to 10 years. We have never had a complaint from any of the neighbors. We've never had a problem with the city about keeping the thing clean. It's probably cleaner than any pipe yard you'll ever see. We practice the good neighbor policy, and as much as on the south side of that, we do have a residential area. Here 6 months ago, the weather took out a stockade fence we had back there in front of some bushes that are about 12 feet tall. Then we tore the stockade fence out, cleaned that out totally, and put in a whole new stockade fence. We had a neighbor whose fence wasn't up. We put a gate in there for him and gave him a key to the gate, so in case he ever needs to get back there for some rhyme or reason. It is not zoned properly for this, and that's one of the things we're asking for today, is to be able to allow this fence area. Like I said, it is clean. It serves as a security point for all of our vehicles.
So we're not aware of anybody protesting, and you say you're a good neighbor. I know your neighbors are upset by this or protested to you anyway about this request for a variance.
No, as a matter of fact, we did have one gentleman say, you know, you've been here for all these years, we've never had a problem yet, so why create one?
Sure. And then the other thing is that I saw that you were willing to condition approval upon some type of site-proof fence.
If you want us to put the site-proof fence up there, we've discussed this in our board meetings at great length, cyclone, and then you put that canvas up there. To me, and the way that building looks, and the way we keep our property would really take away from it. The cyclone fence up there allows everybody to see our pipe that's in the yard. It gives us added security that nobody can jump the fence, and then they can work in close secrecy.
So you're saying the cyclone is better for security, correct?
For us, it is, yes, sir. And it just makes the appearance of the building look a lot better, because you've got stockade, which is going to be a maintenance problem, and then you've got that canvas that they put over the fence. And I'm sorry, I just never have seen one that looks decent. And one of the things Mr. Locke always stood for is making our places blend in the neighborhood and be pleasant to the eye and look professional. And we believe we've achieved that, and we've maintained this for some years without having any problems with any of the neighbors or businesses around.
One thing we might do is just condition it to this use, and that way, you know, I have faith that you know, Locke is, you know, they keep their yard and their building in good repair and good maintenance, but we don't want to, you know, for another business that may be located there, allow them the variance that would allow them the unlimited. So if we restrict it to your use, it allows you to have the variance that you request, but it's just limited to your use. So any subsequent property owner there would not have the same
Okay.
benefit of the variance.
Is that okay?
That would be awesome if that's, now, are you telling me that I don't have to have it site-proof?
You don't have to have what?
We don't have to make it site-proof?
You don't have to make it site-proof.
Okay, just as it, or as is?
And that's based upon a safety element.
Yes.
Yeah.
So moved. With the
Second.
restriction that it's conditioned to this
Yeah.
use.
You understand that? He's
Yes, sir.
making the motion conditional.
Motion second, any discussion? If not, cast your vote. You're good.
Thank you. Appreciate you all.
Item number 5, case number 13810, request of Cold Iron Specialized Company for a variance to the conditional use regulation to permit an automotive vehicle impound yard located at 5325 Madeira Boulevard.
Thank you. My name is Brent Cold Iron. My address is 1800 East Memorial Road in Oklahoma City. I'm the brother of Phil Cold Iron, who owns this business, and the business is at 5325 South Madeira Boulevard in Oklahoma City. It's near 44th and Bryant, I think. Is that right, Clay? 44th and Bryant. What this is a 30-acre tract that my brother started developing in 1974. He's spent about $500,000 on the track and leveling it. It's all been gravelled, and he's put a substantial fence around it. His historical use on the property has been to store semi-trucks, trailers, and commercial equipment on the property. And he has literally stored thousands of those vehicles on this property for many, many years. What we seek to do now is he has finally got a buyer for the property, Copart, who's a good corporate citizen in Oklahoma City. I'm sure you're familiar with them. They run a really good operation. What they want to use this for, they want to store vehicles on it, damaged vehicles from insurance companies. This is not a salvage yard. I didn't mean to imply that in the application. I think I may have used the word salvage in the application in the explanation, but strike that word, amend that, please, to damage, because these are insurance damaged vehicles. There will be no auctions on this site. They're simply going to store vehicles there. There's not going to be any double stacking or anything of that nature. They're going to be good corporate citizens, and the use is pretty much going to be what it historically has been. And there is some residential use on the north, and so we're not asking to vary the 300-foot setback on the north. But there is no residential use that we can see much of on the rest of the property. Clay, I'm going to ask you if you'd address the board on that. Sure.
Hi, my name is Clay Cold Iron, and I'm here in support of the application. You'll notice on the north end of the property, we're agreeing to the 300-foot setback as required by the special condition. That's a rear yard setback for that neighborhood to the north of the property. The only other residential use that we have adjacent to the property is on the east, very south and east boundary of the property, and there we have an R2 use, and it's a side yard use. So it's not a backyard, it's not a front yard, it's a side yard. We would be willing to amend our request and agree to a 150-foot setback at that point, adjacent to the R2 residential use.
Now, Clay, just for the board members, so this will be clear, that if you start at their boundary line in R2, that would move it back to the dotted line.
That's correct.
Okay.
And which side of the property is that on?
It's this corner down.
That very southeast
right there.
corner is the only R2 use that's adjacent to the property line in question.
And Clay, if I can state this, isn't that a street between the two properties? That would be Empire Boulevard.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So that gives us, we get a 150-foot setback adjacent to the R2 use, a 300-foot setback adjacent to the R1 use on the north, which is a rear yard setback. Here, it's on the southeast corner, it's a side yard setback. The other boundaries are R1 in zoning, but not in use. And
That would include the west side?
the west side and the south side, yes, sir.
Okay.
The west side and the south side.
And Clay, on the south, is there something peculiar about how the south has been used?
Well, there is on the south side.
The R1 zone.
It's R1 zoning, but the historical use of the property has been a rather industrial application. In fact, what we have seen, and when you look at the aerial photographs, you can see there's a bit of scarring to the land Our information is that they were bringing in oil field mud and doing an oil field mud mixing operation and drying operation there. Now, what my belief is, and I'm a commercial and residential real estate land development professional. That's what I do for a living. We would not want to build a neighborhood in that type of a situation where that type of land use had a historical basis. So I don't believe that it's reasonable to think that a residential use will ever occur there, even though residential zoning is in place. That argument probably can't be made on the west boundary. The west boundary is probably a little bit different. What we would point out there is that in all these many years, certainly since 1974, it's never developed. And I apologize, but I'm not familiar with when that zoning was approved for the property on the west boundary, but I believe it's probably been in place as long as our industrial zoning has been in place, and it's never been put into use. So
no existing residences on the west or south side?
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, my brother's company, they've been good corporate citizens. They've got along well with the neighbors. There's no one here complaining or protesting this.
The only other R1 zoning that we have adjacent is to the east property line. Of course, it's R1 zoning there adjacent to Madeira Boulevard, but it's not an R1 use. So I'd want to point that out.
Say that again, I didn't hear you.
Just north of the area that we just talked about, where we were agreeing to a 150-foot setback, we get the property line that's adjacent to Madeira Boulevard, and that is adjacent on the east side of the street to an R1 zoning, but it is not an R1 use. So I was just clarifying.
Clay, but that's actually a public school is what that is.
Right, public school.
I mean, so that's never going to be housing in there. That's just a public school.
It'll never be used. It'll never have a residential application, and the school, of course, is set back from Madeira significantly.
Do you have an estimate of how many employees Copart will hire and have work at the facility or this location?
We do have a letter in our packet. I believe
I saw
you received
that.
in the packet a letter, and I don't believe he stated the number of employees. But Copart is a public company, and interestingly was founded by an Oklahoman. And a very interesting story. If wish we had more time, we'd tell you about it. But he founded Copart, and they created this solution for insurance companies to be able to put their vehicles, damaged vehicles, back in the market. And they market all over the world they have the best technology, internet auctions, and this thing will just really have a lot of movement to it in the sense that these vehicles are not going to be stored here and kept here with weeds growing up in the middle of them. This would be a constantly moving type of inventory based upon the way Copart does their business. And I'm sorry we don't know the number of employees, but
Clay, it would be at least as many employees as work at their other yards that are in Oklahoma City. They've got a yard at Bryant and at 15th Street, for example, and they've got other yards that have all been approved in the city.
we just hate to speculate. We'd hate to say something that wasn't accurate.
Is the footprint of the business in the car storage area similar to what we see in this aerial photograph?
Pretty much. That's a historical use. Back when my brother was storing trucks, that's where they actually had the trucks parked on that day.
That is a picture of the historical use, and the answer is not exactly, because we are agreeing to the 300-foot setback on the north boundary, and that picture does not depict that. So if we struck that 300-foot use on the north boundary, everything else would apply, because the 150-foot setback in the southeast corner is being used in that picture.
Is the access into the property off Madeira?
Yes.
I don't, because of the historical use of this, and it sounds to me like, the new owners or potential owners would be good stewards of their business. When you site-proof your fence, will there be fence on all four sides of the property? Yes. How high? It is site-proofed at this time?
That's my brother, Phil Coldiron, and yes, he has spent quite a bit of money in making...
Would there be any changes in the site-proofing under the new ownership?
The new ownership might make, I assume they'll make improvements to the fence and keep it maintained. Right now, it's a wood stockade fence, and they do require some maintenance, and we would hope that they would provide a more durable fence.
The only concern I have about this is if we, consider and approve this variance, is that we don't know 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, this could very well, be a residential area or potentially a residential area. And I don't want to, set a precedent that would make it hard to develop it for other uses in the future. So if we condition it upon this use, it could potentially be sold again to somebody that wasn't as good a steward of their business, and and you might end up with a use similar to what they are, but by somebody that didn't maintain their business the same way. And I noticed in the staff report there's some. What would be the easiest way if we wanted to consider approving their variance, but we didn't want the variance to extend perhaps beyond the new ownership? Is there a way to do that?
Really can't base it on ownership. It's the use, so we could use that, but like you say, it could be the same use, but just not as well maintained.
And again, my concern about the same use is that somebody else might not be, as responsible or as good a steward of the property.
So
as
you're
you might.
conditioning it so long as it's used for vehicle suppliers.
I'm just expressing my concern that I don't really have a problem with continuing the use that's similar to what, the property's been historically used for, and the screening and, all those sort of things. What I hate to see is the variance request be in place and only be tied to the use, because we don't know subsequent ownership that might be similar, may not be as compatible. You've got homes that are very close to that
I might be
property.
able to address that, Mr. Austin. I believe there are only a very limited number of companies in the world that do what Copart does. In fact, I visited with their owner last year, I remember last summer, and he really only spoke of one that was a significant competitor to their model. We probably would be receptive. I'd probably need to speak with my father very quickly about it, but probably be receptive to the idea that no salvage operation, that sounds more like the uses that you're afraid of.
Well, yeah, because I think the use is broad enough that it could be something quite different than the nature of your
Right.
business.
And-
I'm not concerned about you. And
Right.
what I'm concerned about is if we approve the variance request, we're allowing a pretty broad range of use, and as the residential infills.
The condition they're requesting a variance for is specific to their use.
Yes.
So
It's
is
a
it limited
variance
to?
for
Storage.
auto storage.
But if a place, if a junkyard, or what we think of as a junkyard, wanted to buy that land in future years, would they be able to?
It'd be a different category, and condition wouldn't apply.
The condition would not apply? Okay, well, that answers my concern.
Good, we're good.
Okay.
I don't think we had any protesters.
We did not.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve the application.
Thank
I
you
would
very
second
much.
it.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Cast your vote. You're good.
Item number 6, case number 13811, request of Mending Hearts Ministries Church for a variance to permit buildings with exposed exterior metal located at 14818 South Peebly Road.
Okay, state your name and your address.
Good afternoon. My name is David Tompkins. I'm the pastor of Mending Hearts Church, and that is at 14818 South Peebly Road in the New Walla, Oklahoma community. We're just asking for consideration of our application to be approved, just so that we can continue building. I've been there 9 years, and we've just outgrown our children's facilities and for young students, and we're wanting to add new buildings for that. We're a very family-oriented church, and so we're wanting to add new buildings out there, and it's a very rural community. We're in Stella, Oklahoma, so we just want to be able to add some new buildings, and I think the deal is that we be approved for metal siding, just to put up metal buildings, which is what we are. Our church is a metal building now, and many of the buildings around us are metal.
Anybody have any questions, comments? Nobody signed up. You aware of anybody that's complaining?
No.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, cast your vote, please.
Thank you very much.
You're good.
Good afternoon.
Item number 7, case number 13807, request of Pete Desai for a variance to permit the trash dumpsters to be placed forward of the front wall of the building located at 11435 Northwest 4th Street.
I am Pete Desai. I have some pictures that I'd like to pass out.
If you hand them to Kathy, please.
First set.
Yeah.
There's 3 sets.
Okay.
Second set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So basically, this is regarding where the dumpster location that the architect drew. The first picture is just what the hotel might look like. The second picture is the dumpster itself from the front elevation. Basically, most businesses build dumpsters at about 6 feet high. We're building it to about 8 feet high so we can conceal all trash inside. And the third picture is the side elevation with some landscaping around it. And basically, there was 2 concerns from protesters, and one was regarding the visibility. The other one was regarding trash flying around. And, I agree with them that having an unexposed trash can dumpster would be a bad impression. It would leave a bad impression with people driving by, but it would also leave a bad impression with our customers. So that's why we went ahead and planned this. We designed it to be 8 feet, and we can conceal everything. And the third picture, or the fourth one, actually, is the site plan, and that's when we submitted the plans to the city, and it's dated February 21st. And we honestly weren't aware of the situation. We didn't know that was a code, but it was our, it's a close to a $2.5 million project, so we wanted to make sure that we took every thought, every consideration that we could so we can make the building and everything around it nice. And that's what I have.
I am going to be sympathetic with the people that, live around you that have concerns. And I know that you're going to have to give up some parking area and perhaps, some room in your building to place the dumpster.
Correct. I was talking to my architect regarding that. Basically, what we could do is, right where the dumpster is, we could take off about 4 rooms, and we could shift the building over about 2 to 3 feet. But the location of the dumpster would essentially be around the same area. Regardless of where we put it, it's still going to be a unpleasant area. What we're trying to do is try to make it as nice as we can. The dumpster enclosure is going to match the building itself.
Well, the requirement is for the trash dumpster to be located behind the front wall of the building.
Correct. It's all one structure, and my architect was saying that since it's all just one piece, even if we shift it over 2 to 3 feet, it would still be behind the front wall of the primary building. Because our office is right there where it says proposed hotel.
Can staff tell us where the allowable location for the dumpster would be? Where without a variance, where they could place the dumpster, what their options are?
Is that the issue? The architect saying there's nowhere else it can be placed?
Yes, sir.
To me, it's not that. It's, they can rearrange the site plan. They can give up some parking, and they can revise the building to comply. They obviously don't want to do that. They don't want to give up parking spaces. They obviously don't want to give up rooms. But I think, the concerns of the neighbors to not want to have the dumpster in front of the building and to not have to deal, in spite of the enclosure, to deal with the trash. And to me, I don't doubt that this is a hardship, but to me the hardship is self-imposed, because when they bought the land, when they laid out the hotel, this is a requirement. And it's, you're hoping you can get some relief from the requirement, but it's not a guarantee you're going to get relief from the requirement. So I don't think it's impossible for them to reconfigure this to be in compliance.
The west end of the hotel?
Yes, sir.
Is that rooms that open onto the parking lot?
No, there's rooms there.
With doors that open onto the
Yes, sir. Yes,
parking
sir.
lot?
Correct.
So the dumpster couldn't go at the west end either?
No, sir.
No, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Correct. So the dumpster couldn't go at the west end either?
No, sir. Correct. No, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Correct. No, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Correct. 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 No, sir. And that's basically the hotel layout right there.
So where would be the allowable placement of the dumpster?
It would have, there's really nowhere, the way it's configured now, there's nowhere on the site to put the dumpster in compliance. If the building were slid west a little and the dumpster were put north of that south wall, it would be in compliance. Or if it were east of and north of the west end.
And we've got, none of the protesters are present today that...
Yeah. I can't advise you what to do, but I can tell you this, that we only have 3 of us here today, and you need a motion and a second to move forward. One of your alternatives is you could ask for a continuance and try to meet with these neighbors and see if you could work something out with them that would appease them and make them happy.
Right.
That's an alternative.
I think one of the issues was that they didn't know for sure whether there was a dumpster enclosure guarding the dumpster itself, which that was submitted in the original variance application that I sent, but all the information wasn't sent out.
Would you like to pass this to the next hearing date so you can have an opportunity to visit with your neighbors and your architect and see if you could come up with something that would make everyone happy?
Sorry, just a second.
Did I hear you say you had not shown these pictures to the protesters?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think their biggest concerns, judging from the protest letters, were the visibility itself, which the dumpster enclosure is going to hide, and the landscaping around it will also hide it. And the second issue was trash flying around in there. We can arrange to have trash being picked up twice a week, but I don't see it being an issue.
And I do apologize to speak up. The concern of it being an eyesore...
Would you pull the microphone down?
Sorry, yeah. The
Thank
concern
you.
of it being more of an eyesore, we do understand that, trash can being placed anywhere near your home or where you reside would be of a concern, and we do keep that in mind. But that's why, like you mentioned prior to, instead of it being 6 feet, they're going to add a few more feet, make it 8 feet taller, so it's not so much, to where the smell or any of those things are going to be exposed. And then he's saying that, we can have it, the trash picked up maybe twice a week, whereas normally it's maybe, once a week. Some landscaping around the area. I mean, trash can being anywhere wouldn't be something anybody wants to see, but we're going to make sure the lids are on. I believe there's another property around there that actually has a dumpster that's a bit more exposed, and maybe the concerns are coming from that, for the residents. But we wouldn't want to jeopardize, our business either. Just as much as those residents would be exposed, so would be our customers. So we want to make sure that, when they come in, that they're seeing everything that's as, pleasant to the eye.
Is it possible to, Dan, to make a motion that it's conditional for 6 months and they come back in and see how they're doing, see if there's a problem?
You could do a conditional, time-limited variance, yes.
Okay.
But then if they build the hotel...
The issue for them is they create a drive, and I'm sure it'll be a concrete drive to support the weight of the trash truck. And if they accept a conditional variance and they come back and for some reason it's not, that expenditure is...
They would have to move it and take up some parking spaces.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, that they would want to do that. Did you understand what Mr. Sonestaffer was saying? We are not a full board today.
Yes.
And there are 3 of us required. And so if I oppose your application, then, and we vote today, you're going to be denied. You have the option of asking for a continuance to another meeting.
I'm sorry, last question. When is the continuance?
When's next meeting, November?
November 7th.
November 7th. Okay.
Additionally, that would give you time, the new evidence that you brought us today, you could share that with the neighbors who have concerns. I believe that you want to be a good neighbor and you want to maintain your property and you want good relationships between you and the other businesses and neighbors around you. But it would give you time to go back and see if you can, help them with some of their concerns. Sorry. And and come back and hope to have a full board. That way, if I chose not to support your application, you still have at least a fair opportunity to be approved.
The other thing is, it's not months and months, the continuance, it's till November 7th, and that gives you an opportunity to show this new evidence to the people that protested. Maybe they'll withdraw their protest.
Sure.
So is that something you would like?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll like to continue.
Okay, I'm going to move that your application be continued until November 7th. Okay?
Sure, sounds good.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, cast your votes. We'll see you on the 7th.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have anything else or a motion to
Move to
adjourn?
adjourn, sir.
I'll second that.
Cast your vote. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.